What's up, everyone? Welcome to Fantasy Football Office Hours for Week 5. We are here to do nothing but answer your questions for this upcoming week. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always by my co-hosts, Josh and John Luke. What's up, guys?
What up?
Let's go. Let's go.
Back.
We're here.
Back. Never not here.
A long time no see. It's been like a
Missed
whole
you guys.
one P length in between seeing you guys is what I had.
Honestly, like it wasn't even 15 minutes. We just had our last show 15 minutes ago and ended, but like we were talking like 5 minutes after that. Then there was like a 2-minute time break, and then we hopped in here. So I did miss you guys, though.
I did miss you too. Yeah, Josh read us a bedtime story in between.
Of course.
And that took up most of the time, but now we're here.
Now we're here. We got Kevin here saying bird up and woo! Yep.
Wow, your mic simultaneously
That's how it works.
did its super loud thing while you did that.
I'm sorry.
No, it sounded great.
Guys, just a reminder for everyone watching, we are here right now to answer any and all questions you may have. We say fantasy related, but if you've got non-fantasy questions, go ahead and throw them our way well. We'll answer just about anything, except does Josh wear anything under his robe? We will not answer that question.
I'm not even wearing the robe yet. Should I grab it?
Yeah, for sure.
Guys, while we're waiting for questions to come in, I did have a question for you guys about one of my teams. And you know what? It doesn't seem like there's anyone from the listener league in here yet. So this is the perfect time to ask you guys. So we are currently 4-0, but one of our starting running backs is Joe Mixon. On our bench, our next best option is Kenneth Gainwell, which is, not a bad option to plug in for your starter. But in that scenario, would you guys be going heavily for Damian Williams this week while we're waiting on the Joe Mixon news? Or would you prefer to target Samaje Perine? I just can't imagine ever starting Samaje Perine over Kenneth Gainwell, even if Mixon is out. How do you guys feel about that?
I'm not super excited for Samaje Perine. We haven't even seen him really used except for like the last drive of that game on Sunday. Joe Mixon doesn't seem like he's going to miss a significant amount of time with a low, I think it's a low ankle sprain or low grade ankle sprain. I think he's just like a piece that we're going to end up dropping in a few weeks anyway. But Damian Williams is interesting.
Yeah. So what was the situation? You're missing Mixon and you don't really have another running back.
Gainwell's the next backup.
This is our FSGA league, right?
No, this is the FYF listener league.
Ah, okay.
Yes. You got to spend up for Damian Williams, it sounds like to me. I think Damian Williams is going to be a plug and play running back while David Montgomery is out the next 4 to 5 weeks. So, yeah, and he's a good pass catcher, like I've mentioned previously. I'm excited to put Damian Williams in my starting lineup.
Yeah.
I think I agree with you guys. I was on the fence about blowing all that fab when I have Kenneth Gainwell on the bench, but I think you're right. Damian Williams is enough of an upgrade over Gainwell for these next 4 to 5 weeks that I'm happy making that decision.
You're saying blowing all that fab. I'm not saying blow your whole fab budget either. I'm saying you got to put in a decent bid for this guy, though.
1,000% of your fab. Guys, we have a question from MPX1606.
What up, MP?
He traded Tyreek and Montgomery for CEH, Henderson, Jefferson, DJ Moore, and it's paying off. Got the 4-player side. So he got CEH, Henderson, Jefferson, and DJ Moore. Giving up Tyreek is tough, but Montgomery's out injured and you got a haul for it. Yeah, like that's a pretty good haul.
DJ Moore is finally getting some touchdowns, finally getting some fantasy production. So I like it.
And Jefferson's solid. Yeah, that was a good trade. I would not have had the cojones to make that trade, I think, pushing Tyreek Hill away like that, but props to you. It's working out in your favor, my man.
Yeah, it sucks losing Tyreek, but like Jay Hill said, DJ Moore is like a top 10 wide receiver for me the rest of the season. Now they are scoring touchdowns. Jefferson's also in that same boat, while Tyreek Hill is the best player in this trade. This is a easy trade. Even if Montgomery was healthy, I like this for you if you're starting all these players.
Yeah,
you could plug every single one of these into most starting lineups. That's an awesome value return on Tyreek Hill.
Wow, DJ Moore has a 30.5% target share in that offense.
Sam Darnold loves him.
That is a lot.
It's been a fun year for me for some of the wide receivers that I love: Amari Cooper, DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin, like a bunch of these names that like I've loved and held on to. I have in so many dynasty leagues are finally showing up this year, and it like just feels good, man. You know what I mean? Especially like I love drafting wide receivers. Like that's like wide receivers are where I find my joy in fantasy football, is like finding and targeting wide receivers. So it's been a fun year from that perspective. I just need a couple more Mike Evans touchdowns.
Here, I'm gonna just throw this out there real fast, Simon. The players you mentioned, well, not all of them. Terry McLaurin was a high draft pick, but the rest of these guys were a little bit lower end guys. Maybe it shows that you can get receiver late as well. You know, and I love drafting wide receivers too, but you know, you get those top tier running backs to fill in with these good receivers, you know, because there's so much depth at the receiver position.
My best team this year is Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon led team where we got Deebo Samuel and Marquise Brown.
Hopefully
Joe Mixon led
some of these other names at wide receiver. But yeah, I agree with you. I think there's multiple strategies. I think that shows like don't get locked into a single draft strategy. I prefer zero RB this year, but that draft fell where we got value on Austin Eckler and Joe Mixon. So we didn't go zero RB. There's value to be had at wide receiver, and there's been value to be had at running back and on the waiver wire this year as well. So don't poo-poo a draft strategy just because you're uncomfortable with it. Be willing to adapt to how the board is thrown at you. Craig in here saying
First 3 picks tight ends. That's my new draft strategy. Don't poo-poo it. It
Josh
might be good.
special.
It might be good.
Josh special.
I have a league where my first 2 picks were tight ends.
That's fine. I'm fine.
Travis Kelce, Darren Waller in an 8-man league. That's where we went there. Craig's in here, just Crowder, no question marks, and I 100% agree.
Crowder.
Crowder's the man. He's worth picking up. He's going to keep seeing what did he have this week? Like 9 targets or something like that?
Wasn't in that bracket. I think someone came in.
Crowder was in the bracket. Was he not? I put him in there to start. Did I take him out?
Yeah, where was he?
I know someone had a question about him. I'm just remembering it last stream.
We didn't even call it out.
He was the
I completely forgot.
He was the first player I put in that bracket. I must have deleted it when I was rearranging.
It's all good. No worries.
That is so odd.
7 receptions on 9 targets for 61 yards and a touchdown in his debut.
I remember why I took him out. It was the rostership percentage. He was greater than 60% rostered across all formats that I saw. I checked multiple. That's what it was. I couldn't remember. And Cav said, way to poo-poo it, Cy, man. Yeah, I did poo-poo it.
I like your hat. Just says Simon.
It is a fun fact about this hat. This is from the first smartphone ever made in 1994. It was called the Simon, and it wasn't called a smartphone then because that word didn't exist yet, but it was a PDA with a touch screen with an address book. You could page people, text people, email people, have a calendar, and it was the size of a home phone and came with like a charging station. And my dad was working on an exhibit for them when I was born, and so I've got all this shit with my name on it.
Nice.
Slide has a question for us. 16-team half PPR league. I'm looking to target Kareem Hunt, which is a reach. Josh Jacobs, Chris Carson, or Latavius Murray. My only real trade assets are Mike Davis, Hollywood Brown, Aguilar, and Rojo. It's going to be tough to get a trade done for one of those players with the players you currently have. Maybe
you should be able to get Hollywood for Kareem Hunt.
No, he has Hollywood.
I'm saying, trade away Hollywood for Kareem Hunt. That seems pretty fair to me.
He's a top 10 running back on the season so far. Like Kareem Hunt is a top 10 PPR running back.
Hollywood Brown has been fantastic too.
But it's a wide receiver for a running back.
Yeah, exactly. I get it.
Back at that. You could try it. I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe Hollywood Brown plus, but I don't think Mike Davis or Rojo are going to move the chains on that one. You say those are your only tradable assets. Every player on your team is a tradable asset is the other thing I want to say. I know you may not want to move them, but start looking at other options besides just like the players you're looking to get rid of, like Davis and Rojo. I think there's Hollywood plus would probably be enough to get you Kareem Hunt.
I don't even know if I'm trying to get Kareem Hunt. I think that's a bad trade target at this moment. He's looked fantastic. He's in a run-heavy offense, but he's going to have down weeks. Nick Chubb is going to be the dominant running back some of these weeks, and you're buying high on Kareem Hunt in my mind. While there's other running backs that I think are I'd much rather try to buy lower on. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I don't know if he was mentioned. Let me just kind of go down the list here. Darrell Henderson, if people don't like it. Josh Jacobs. Yeah, well, does he have Josh Jacobs?
No. Those are the players he's looking to target. Kareem Hunt, Josh Jacobs.
Which is a reach. I get it. I get what his question is. Okay.
I got locked onto Kareem Hunt as an option, but I think Josh Jacobs, Hollywood Brown for Josh Jacobs,
Carson.
You might be able to get that done. Hollywood Brown for Chris Carson, you might be able to get that done. Davis absolutely. Or Aguilar Waller or Rojo, it's going to be hard to get anything done with those guys.
Pretty much everyone outside of Hollywood.
To your point earlier, JL, I love Hollywood. I think he's going to have a great year. I'm not trying to trade him, but if you need a running back, he's and someone values Hollywood, I'm willing to trade him for these running backs, but not Latavius Murray.
Yeah, number 12, wide receiver 12 on the season in PPR, wide receiver 10 in standard, if you still play that way, but that's not that far off, right? Like it's not that big of a gap between the top 10.
I agree, but
the running back position, yes,
it
does. I completely agree with the point.
Yeah, a top 10 running back or a top 10 receiver, you're probably going to take the running back mid-season in a trade. But yeah, I agree with you guys. Hollywood seems like the asset that you're going to have to trade to get a running back if those are your only options. But you could get some stuff over there. Jimmy has a question for us. Galladay or Crowder at the flex?
It's Galladay for me.
Do we know the format? This is one where it might matter.
Let's assume PPR for the time being, and then
even in a PPR, I like what I've seen out of Galladay. We still have to see if Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton are going to play, but Galladay has kind of gotten implemented in this offense. Finally, he's getting healthy. Daniel Jones and him are getting chemistry. I don't fully trust Crowder. All right, I know he had a good week. I'm willing to pick him up, but I don't love the idea of throwing him in my lineup quite yet. It's definitely Galladay for me here.
Luke, what do you think?
It's Jamison Crowder for me, which is interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think he's just going to get the volume probably more so than Galladay. I do like Galladay, but especially the reason I asked the format is especially in PPR, I would almost definitely go Jamison Crowder here.
And Jimmy said PPR. I'm going Galladay as well, Josh. They are kind of close. I was leaning Galladay anyways. Then I looked at the matchups. Galladay's going up against the Cowboys this weekend. The Cowboys have given up 29, 17, 21, and 28 points to their opponents, and a lot of it has been through the air.
Guess who Crowder's going up against?
Who?
The Falcons.
Okay, so you know what? Those are great matchups for both of them, but I'm going Galladay.
It's the Jets. I still want to stay away from Jets options. Corey Davis is really the only wide receiver I want to start there.
So you got two Galladays and one Crowder, but Crowder's a PPR option every week. I just like Galladay a bit better. Greg has a question for us. Should I start Henderson, Woods, and Higbee for Thursday? He's having so many Thursday guys. Want your opinions.
Henderson, Woods, and Higbee for Thursday.
Got to start Henderson.
Well, I think he's asking about all of them, right?
Yeah.
He's just like wondering if he should start these guys.
And I agree with JL, that first point. You definitely start Henderson. Woods and Higbee Woods you're probably starting, depending on what your other wide receiver options are. Higbee is the one I would maybe look to pivot from if there's a better option on the waiver wire, like a Dalton Schultz. I would prefer to start Dalton Schultz this week, but you're fine starting. Don't be scared away by starting all those Thursday guys if they're your best options. Start your best options, even though they're all on Thursday. But Higbee could be one that you could replace on the waiver wire this week. Josh, you got your contemplative face on.
I'm most worried about Woods, actually. I'm fine starting Higbee. Woods got the touchdown last week, which saved his day. I'm freaking concerned about Woods. If you have better options, I'm willing to start people over Woods for sure.
Yeah, just curious what those other options would be. So throw some of your other options in there, Greg, especially at wide receiver. Let us see what else you've got on your team, and we can give a little bit better response on whether you should start Woods. A reminder for everybody watching, if you have not done so already, you're enjoying what we're doing here, got some more questions for us, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to our YouTube channel at Front Yard Fantasy. We are live every day, Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, playing games on the Fantasy Football Game Show. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we are here right after that, 4:15 Eastern time, answering all of your fantasy questions. So if you guys want to make sure to get in here, get your fantasy questions answered every week, make sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Mike has a question for us. Looking at getting Ridley, should I offer Carson and Julio? Half PPR already has Henry and CEH at running back. Josh, how do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I'm willing to make this trade. Ridley's definitely the best option in this trade. Julio looked fine with the Titans so far when he was healthy. He's not healthy right now. Chris Carson, I don't know what happened to him last week. I don't think anyone knows. Alex Collin outproduced him. He looked good. If that's a sign of things to come, I'm concerned for Carson. But Carson is a running back who I think is going to be very usable throughout the season. So it's a tough one. But knowing that you have Henry and CEH, I'm willing to go out and get Ridley. I think he's a fantastic trade target right now.
Yeah, I agree with Josh. I do think Carson will probably get better. He was averaging 2.31 yards per carry on Sunday. And it just seemed like he was getting gassed a lot, and they were throwing Alex Collins in, who was was much more productive on the ground. So I don't expect that, to be a consistent outcome for Carson, but Ridley is a perfect buy low candidate.
Yep, I agree with you guys 100%. I would make this trade. Ridley's the perfect buy low candidate if you're looking for a wide receiver. And Greg gave us some more clarity here. His other wide receivers are Waddle, Devonta Smith, Pittman, and Ayuk. Already have Tyreek locked in. Would you start any of those guys over Robert Woods this week, Josh?
Yeah. Waddle, Devonta, and Pittman. Pittman's close. I'm definitely Waddle and Devonta Smith for me.
I'm starting Devonta Smith over Robert Woods. Waddle's a bit closer for me, but
Will Fuller is out, by the way.
I know, but Devontae Parker seemed to be the main beneficiary of that last week. I just want to see how that wide receiver situation plays out a little bit with Fuller out and Brissett at quarterback. So I'm going to wait on Waddle, but Devonta Smith, I am definitely starting over Robert Woods this week.
It's super close to me. I might lean Robert Woods, but Smith is right behind him. But both of those guys are ahead of Pittman and Waddle for me this week. So I would go Woods.
Jail going Woods. Then Josh and I saying Devonta, and Josh saying also Waddle in his mind, but it is close. MP wants to know if we're mad about the way Washington football team is wasting Gibson's talent, giving him no targets.
Wastong.
How do you guys feel about the way Antonio Gibson's being used this year? We'll just simplify the question down to that.
They're not wasting him. They're using him. They're keeping him healthy. J.D. McKissic has a role. He's a really good pass catcher. And Gibson hasn't been that bad. He's been efficient, and he's producing for fantasy still. So I'm not completely mad at what they're doing. I think they're probably doing the right football thing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm frustrated from a fantasy perspective. I was projecting that receiving work at Gibson to take a step up, take over a lot of that J.D. McKissic receiving work this year. It's why I was so high on him, and he's not. So that is frustrating. But Josh, you're 100% right. From an NFL perspective, I think they're getting a lot out of Antonio Gibson. They're using him in a very efficient manner because they have a very good receiving back in J.D. McKissic who can come in and take over that work. So I agree with you. It's frustrating, but I get it. JL?
Yep. Nothing else to add.
Okay. Jabo2K wants to know, do you guys like Lockett or DK
Jabo?
more this week? Which of the two do you think Jalen will cover more often?
I mean, it's DK. If I had to guess, it's DK. They fit. I mean, DK is a big-bodied, fast wide receiver, and that's who Jalen covers. The bigger-bodied, faster wide receiver. Lockett's very fast in his own right, so DK is probably going to get the tougher coverage most of the day. It's like flip a coin. They're still the same tier for me. DK and Lockett.
I'd give the edge to DK. Just he's seen almost double the number of targets that Tyler Lockett has the last 2 weeks. So I'd rather just have the upside on DK there.
I'll give the nod to Lockett because of the corner matchup. It's one of the few corner matchups that really will break that tie for me, but I'll go Lockett. But Josh, I agree with you there. It's super close. It would be DK most weeks. This week I will go Lockett.
Yeah.
Greg said I got 2 wide receiver spots and a wide receiver running back spot and a flex spot. So do I go Hill, Smith, Pittman, Waddle is what he wants to know. So Tyreek Hill, Devonta Smith, Pittman, Waddle.
Well, I mean, I think most of the people said that. I think everyone said they would be starting Woods over Pittman.
Yeah. I would start Woods over Pittman. I would go Hill, Smith, Woods, Waddle probably.
I think Pittman and Waddle and Woods are all very close to each other. I'm probably finding a way to. Woods is probably still in your starting lineup.
Yeah. Swamp saying, speaking of Devonta Smith, thanks, Simon, will tell me to stick with him last week. I got you, Swamp. Glad it worked out. And Albert wants to know, would you trade Camara for Barkley?
Hell yeah, I would.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a lateral move. I think both of these guys are limited by their offenses this season, but both incredibly talented. I do expect Camara to have some touchdown regression and start producing more fantasy-wise, but this feels like a lateral move to me.
I'm not making this trade. I'm keeping Camara. Camara was my RB2 going into the season, and from what I've seen from both of these guys, RB3 behind Dalvin Cook. But from what I've seen from these guys, I couldn't make that move right now. But you guys are both making it. You guys would prefer Barkley on your roster than Camara rest of the season? Or Josh,
Jail said no. Jail said no. I think.
Gotcha.
I would. I'd say take a shot on whichever one you like better. Honestly, I really don't have a strong opinion here. These guys are back to back. It's a lateral. It's a lateral move just in terms of position as well. It's a 1-for-1 trade at the same position. It's not going to give you much of an edge either way.
I prefer Saquon over Calvin Kamara the rest of the season.
You go. Josh prefers Saquon. I prefer Camara. JL saying it's a lateral move. Tim said I got offered Miles Sanders for Michael Thomas. So I'm guessing in redraft, what would you guys do with this trade? Would you take Miles Sanders or Michael Thomas? That's a kind of gross one, isn't it?
And this is redraft.
Yeah, I'm assuming because I think in the listener league,
okay.
In listener league, he has Michael Thomas. He drafted him.
We got to know the wide receiver and running back situation you're in.
I'm fine. I would rather have Miles Sanders. There's wide receiver value out there. I don't want to wait until Michael Thomas gets back, and even then, we don't know what it's going to be like. I'll take the value of Miles Sanders here.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I just wish it was not Miles Sanders. But I think I would take that value as well, Tim. Makes sense. Also, fantasy football stats guy saying Ramsey doesn't follow the wide receiver one anymore. He plays a hybrid role. That's some good info over there from fantasy football stats guy. Josh saying, should I trade Stephon, Pittman, and Chubb for Kupp and Zeke? So Diggs, Pittman, and Chubb for Cooper Kupp, and Ezekiel Elliott. Are you guys making this trade?
Actually, no. I immediately said yes, but I'll do this trade. I'll make this trade.
So you're taking the Kupp and Zeke side?
Yeah, Kupp's so heavily involved. I'd rather have Zeke. So both Zeke and Kupp are the two best players in this trade, right? They are for me. So yeah, I'll make.
I think it's crazy to say, but like rest of season, I would rather have Kupp than Diggs. So like, and that was not the case at all preseason. So I think I'm taking this trade as well. I'll take the Kupp and Zeke side. I've seen enough from Kupp at this point that I'm preferring him over Diggs the rest of the season. John Luke, your best friend, Stephon Diggs.
I think I would prefer Diggs rest of season over Kupp. Kupp has had a really prolific first 3 weeks of the season, but I think Stephon Diggs has also underperformed the first 4 weeks of the season. So I do expect him to return more value, fantasy value throughout the season. I do prefer Zeke over Chubb though.
And Pittman doesn't really move the needle.
I mean, it's a nice throw in, definitely, especially if you need depth piece for sure. I'm considering that. I think I would take the Diggs Chubb Pittman side of this.
The Diggs Chubb Pittman side of this. So we got two taking the Kupp Zeke and Jail taking the Diggs.
Trade.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
Tough trade.
It's close. There's no doubt about it.
In my mind, it comes down to what you believe about the wide receivers. Who do you think is going to be the better wide receiver rest of season, Kupp or Diggs? And that's where I'm making this decision.
They're the same tier for me, though.
Yeah,
really.
JB,
pick your poison.
Jabo 2K has a question for us. Start Henderson or Swift this week? It's Swift for me. Josh, what do you think?
Let me check out their matchups real fast. I think I lean Swift though.
Swift is playing Minnesota and Henderson is playing Seattle.
I am going to go Swift. I'm gonna go Swift here. Swift just looked good the entire season. So is Henderson when he's healthy. But
Seattle has not been great against running backs.
Yeah,
but I'm going Swift as well.
Yeah,
I would try and start both of these guys if you can.
Yeah, I'm curious who your other running back is, Jabo. Maybe he already told us. I can't remember what his other question was.
Kev said bird up from the other side.
Bird up from the other side. Kev birding up from all the different places. Fantasy football stats guy has a question for us. How much fab would you put on Damian Williams? Keeping in mind Tariq Cohen may be ready for week 7. I have Tariq stashed. If you need a running back, I'm putting 50% fab or 55% fab in on Damian Williams.
I don't know if I want to go too much, like really over 50, but 50 is a good line if you need a running back start, like you said. I am not concerned about Tariq Cohen coming back.
Me neither. John-Luke, how much fab would you spend?
Yeah, and Tariq Cohen won't be used in that same way. He'll be used most likely in the receiving game. Not as much probably siphoning carries away from Damian Williams here. I think 50 is my absolute ceiling. I think this is a similar type of situation to Chuba Hubbard last week in terms of, this is a short-term stash, but at running back, if you need it, I'm willing to spend up to 50. Maybe more if you absolutely need it to win these next matchups, especially if you're not a winning team right now. But overall, I'm most likely if none of those conditions describe my team, I'll probably put in a bid for like 20 to 30.
27
exactly.
Jacob has a question for us. Should I trade David Montgomery and Damian Williams for Woods and Hubbard? No, I'm not doing
Chuba
this.
Hubbard, Robert Woods, no,
nope, not at all.
Damian Williams is like the Chicago Bears is Chuba Hubbard, so
a better version, I think, for fantasy. I would much rather start Damian Williams than Chuba Hubbard this week with both those running backs out.
You're getting like the extra weeks with Woods, but David Montgomery is like a top 20 running back when he's healthy. So you're gonna get him back when he comes back. So
more than that, right? David Montgomery has been unreal so far through this season. He's been a great.
He would be ranked higher that scoring wise. I just mean once he comes back, I'm still ranking him for the rest of the season. Gotcha.
Kind
of running back,
Gotcha, makes sense. He is the RB11 in PPR through 4 weeks right now. So he is RB11. And Cordero Patterson, I'm just looking at this. 3 games, and he's the RB3. Like, what? Like, he's a game behind, and he's the RB3 overall in the season. Number 2 in points per game behind Derrick Henry. That is absolutely
that won't keep up.
No, we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
Mike has...
No, 100%. Sorry, I meant we'll see how far it falls. No, Cordero Patterson will not finish as the
RB3. If Cordero Patterson ends up in the top 10 running backs, I will still be surprised. He's looked awesome. But I'm willing to say he will not be a top 10 running back.
No, he's far too efficient. He's just like I forget the exact number, but it's like 30% of the snaps. Which is a ridiculous.
It might be even less than that.
Yeah, I was digging into it a little bit this morning. He's played 97 snaps, which is around. I think I tweeted out something about it. It was around the same, or it's less than Latavius Murray, like Chuba Hubbard. Who was the third one?
Having said that, I'm still starting Cordero Patterson next week. So still starter. Limit
100%.
Don't expect 30 points.
No.
Mike had another question for us. Javonte Williams, rest of season thoughts. John-Luke, how do you feel about Javonte Williams going forward?
I like him a lot. I mean, rookie running back, he seems to be getting some work, and he seems to be pretty efficient with it. Like, he hasn't been anything crazy, but I would expect him to hopefully take more of the opportunity share away from Melvin Gordon as the season goes on. So I feel good about him.
Josh?
Yeah, so we kind of always expected this, right? Like, we're like, oh, Melvin Gordon will get most of the work going at the beginning of the season, and Javonte Williams will slowly take it away. Well, Javonte Williams from the get-go has been splitting this work, but at the same time, Melvin Gordon has looked good in his own right. So if Melvin Gordon continues to look good, we could just see this throughout the entire season. I'd rather have Javonte Williams than Melvin Gordon, but I don't think you can count on him as a fantasy starter until we see otherwise. I mean, maybe after they decide to really make Javonte that guy, but Melvin Gordon's going to get work while he's healthy.
I'm holding on to Javonte Williams. You can flex him if needed at this point, but like Josh said, we're holding on for the hopes that he starts taking over some more of this work from Melvin Gordon. And I think it's coming, even though Melvin Gordon has looked good. I think they'll get the rookie more involved down the stretch of the season. But
semi-even snap share, 53.2 for Melvin Gordon, 45.2 for Javonte Williams. So
expect that to shift the other direction by the end of the season. Swamp wants to know, he says, I have Marvin Jones. What's y'all's opinion rest of season? I liked Marvin Jones before the DJ Chark injury. They play a similar position on that field. And so I like Marvin Jones even more. Now, all of the targets that were going to go to that position are going through Marvin Jones now. So I'm in on Marvin Jones as a weekly startable wide receiver in fantasy now. I think you could have started him before the Chark injury, and now you definitely can with Chark out. How do you guys feel? And different opinion on that?
He's the deep target for this team now. The sole deep target, really.
Yep.
Other people aren't get deep targets. Don't get me wrong, but Marvin Jones has that skill set. He's going to be good. He's going to be a solid flex play, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't trust him. I think maybe as much. I think he'll definitely be flexible throughout the season, but I mean, DJ Shark went out. He only got 3 targets last week, which is definitely concerning. I'm going to be looking at how many targets he gets this week, because that'll be pretty telling to me about like what this trend is like. I mean, they didn't throw as much overall, so it could just be that. And
he is going to be one of these higher variance guys because of the type of receiver he is. So just keep that in mind, Swamp. You're going to have disappearing weeks from Marvin Jones, but you'll have big blow up games from him as well.
Yeah,
because he plays that deep threat role on that team. He's going to be a boom bust kind of guy on your roster,
definitely
I would assume.
Worthy.
Fantasy Football Stats guy says my RB2 situation is a mess. Sermon, Mitchell, Pollard, Drake, and for all intents and purposes, Gainwell, dropping Tyson for Gainwell. 3-1 with 65 fab left, and has no choice but to start A-Rob. Can't justify paying more than 10 to 20 fab on Damien. Do you guys think he should be spending a little bit more fab on Damian Williams with that current roster?
Yeah, I'm willing to spend like 27 fab.
I would spend
27 exactly.
A little bit more than 20 if I was in your position, Fantasy Football Stats guy. I get the hesitancy to spend up, but I think I would spend a little bit more to lock up that RB2 spot right now while you're 3-1.
Yeah,
that's what I would be doing. And also, you say you have no choice but to start A-Rob. I'm curious about you guys. Allen Robinson. Let's think about some of the like wide receivers. Are there any waiver wire wide receivers you would be starting over Allen Robinson this week? Are you starting Darnell Mooney over Allen Robinson if Justin Fields is playing? It's a real question right now, right? He's out targeting him when Justin.
I don't
Fields
like it. I don't like the question. I don't like the question one bit. Allen Robinson's still my starter. If I have him, I draft him where I had to draft him. Still putting him in my lineup. And I know some people might disagree with me. He hasn't seen the production. He hasn't produced for fantasy. I get it, but I believe in the talent. I believe in the talent. Throwing out A-Rob in there.
I'm right there with you, Josh. I have to go A-Rob as well. It does suck. Mooney's been seeing more targets. We talked about it in the Waiver Wire show today, Waiver Wire brackets, but I got to start Allen Robinson. I believe in the talent. There's better weeks ahead for him. Man, that is close. So, Jail, are you tempted to start Mooney over Robinson?
Tempted, yes. It's definitely moving closer to the center, but I'm still leaning Robinson. We just haven't, we talk about Darnell Mooney seeing more targets, but it's only 4 weeks of data here. So, and there a lot has been changing that offense. They're switching who's calling plays. So I'm going to go Robinson until we get some even, an even trend or a nice trend that we can sort of attach to.
Yeah, I think I agree with you guys. Let's throw some other names out there. Allen Robinson or Robert Woods? Who are you starting this week?
Robinson.
Who's Robert Woods playing again? Seahawks?
Seahawks.
And who's Chicago playing?
The Raiders.
Las Vegas.
I would probably lean Woods a little bit here. Las Vegas has been sneaky good against wide receivers. That is a tough one. That's close.
Yeah, we'll do one more in there. Just a quick one. Allen Robinson or Devonta Smith this week?
I hate that question. I really hate that question. And
Smith is going up against Carolina, just so you guys know the full context. I think I'm going Smith.
Yeah, I think I would just lean Smith too.
I think that's about where the line is. Maybe you have someone you can start over A-Rob in that Devonta Smith range. Was trying to find where that line was, but A-Rob is not a guy that I think you have to start at this point. He's not one of those guys that definitely needs to be in your lineup. There are going to be plenty of teams out there with A-Rob, with a Devonta Smith, a Tyler Boyd, type guy on the bench that you might want to start over Allen Robinson.
Got one more for you.
Okay.
Odell or Allen Robinson?
Odell.
JL, I swear to God, I was going to ask that too.
Really?
Yeah. I was just looking at like the wide receivers, and I was like, this is one question I might have, but it's Odell for me.
I like the target volume for Odell. 9 targets, 7 targets. Even though it hasn't translated this past week to fantasy value. Baker had an awful game. I'm going to go with the number one target in the Cleveland passing game, like undisputed. I'll go Odell Beckham. What about you, JL? You asked us. What's your opinion?
Yeah, lean Odell.
Swamp coming in with breaking news. Sora from Kingdom Hearts is the last Smash character. That's actually awesome. That's really
like they're not going to add any more.
At least not to this game, to Smash Ultimate. And the name Ultimate, is this the last Smash game?
Penultimate.
Super Smash Brothers, penultimate. Jew Garage has a question for us. Should I trade away Ridley plus Singletary for Woods plus Higgins PPR? I'm not.
That is tough.
I don't even think it's that tough. Ridley for me is still a top 10 wide receiver rest of season, and I'm gonna keep the stud on that side.
Yeah, Ridley's definitely a top 10 receiver for me the rest of the season. I lean that side as well. Woods and Higgins. Woods is so disappointing. Maybe if Woods was playing well, Higgins looked great before his injury. We don't even know if he's playing this week. It's Ridley and Singletary.
Yeah, I do think Woods will also have a better season than what we've seen. But the running back aspect of this, I have to consider here. I don't love Singletary. I would probably lean the Ridley side as well. That's tough for me though.
Tough for him. AB has a question, says this is dumb, but Butker or McManus, a kicker question. You know what? This is one of the rare instances where I have an opinion.
I do too.
The Broncos look so bad without Teddy Bridgewater. Start Butker.
Yeah. It's an easy Butker because of the offenses that they play in.
If Teddy Bridgewater was still in there, this would be a question, but I'm going to go Butker without Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, against Pitt, that's going to be tough. Denver's playing Pitt. Kansas City's playing Buffalo, which would be tough too, but it's Kansas City, so it's Butker.
And they're kickers, so don't
and they're kickers, so this is dumb.
And I barely know her as well, but I would start. Ryan says, would you guys trade Dalvin Cook, Calvin Ridley, and OBJ for Alvin Kamara, CeeDee Lamb, and Mike Williams?
Oh, mamma mia.
No. I'm keeping the Dalvin Cook, Calvin Ridley, and OBJ side of this trade, I think.
Let's break it down. Cook or Camara. I'm going Cook. Ridley or CeeDee Lamb. I'm going Ridley. And OBJ, Mike Williams. That's pretty even.
Oh, that's not even for me.
You're Mike
It's
Williams?
fairly even for me.
I'm going Mike Williams over OBJ.
It's Cook, Calvin, Ridley, and OBJ for me. So.
I agree. And AB, and you're saying, thanks, guys. Love the show. Welcome.
I would go the other side.
Really? Yeah, you prefer the Camara, CeeDee Lamb, Mike Williams. I don't blame you. It's close enough.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb I think has been underperforming. Mike Williams targets are just as enticing as OBJ. And that I like that offense better. And Camara and Cook are a wash.
I want to bring up something real fast. Are we concerned about the amount Dallas is throwing the ball? Because I'm looking at their pass attempts the last 3 weeks, 27 pass attempts, 26 pass attempts, 22 pass attempts.
After coming out of the gate in the first game of the season with
against
58.
Tampa Bay. Against Tampa Bay, it's hard to run against Tampa Bay.
I know, but it's just funny because they started out with 58 and then they've shifted.
I bring that up because you're not going to be able to support Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, these tight ends, Michael Gallup when he comes back. Not with this volume. It's going to be very inconsistent. So that does make me a little worried for CeeDee Lamb.
They've won their games, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. They've looked good, but it's on the back of Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard getting a ton of carries.
So yeah, I mean, they played the Chargers. Chargers have been probably one of the best defenses against the pass. They've been shutting down defenses, really good offenses.
They did last night.
They did last night.
The number one passing offense in the league, the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, they are very good, and it hasn't been super apparent because they've played really good. They've had a really tough beginning of the year, schedule wise. I forgot what we were even talking about. You were So I think the Cowboys have just been making it work in the run game. I do expect that will go up.
Yep, I was going to say the same exact thing, JL. I think the schedule the past couple of weeks has lended itself more to a run-heavy approach to this offense. There are going to be weeks where the run game isn't working, and they'll go straight back to chucking the ball 50 times in a game. And they can. That's the part. We will see more games like this where Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard are the focal points of that offense. But I do fully expect more games like week 1 where they have to go through the wide receivers.
It's a good point, Josh. Definitely something we need to keep an eye on going forward.
It's concerning.
Yeah.
I mean, because if they're able to win games like this, I think they want to.
Yeah.
While they can throw 50 times a game and win as well, but
they're not going to put that on Dak necessarily. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Ryan has a question. DeAndre Hopkins from Michael Thomas and Ridley.
Oh,
no, yeah. I wouldn't do it.
Are you doing it, Josh?
Yeah. Just because Ridley and Michael D-Hop are like the same. They're the same level wide receiver for me for the rest of the season.
I'm fine with that trade if you take Michael Thomas out then, because I think he's
you just don't even want Michael Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to sit on your bench, clog up your bench for the next 4 or 5 weeks or so. Like I would rather not have to deal with that going forward, or maybe try and substitute another piece in there, and then I'm all for it because I think D-Hop Ridley is somewhat of a lateral move. I lean towards D-Hop.
Give me the D-Hop side. I'll take the guy I think is above Ridley. I would strongly prefer DeAndre Hopkins
in that
Ridley.
offense. The offenses could not be more like polar opposites.
But
I do like Ridley.
Hyper targets Ridley. They target Ridley more than any other team in the NFL, target wise. D-Hop.
All the other teams aren't targeting Ridley.
No, I swear to God, he's the number 1 targeted share wide receiver in the league, and D-Hop is never going to be that guy in that offense, even though he's going to be more efficient.
Yeah, I guess it just comes down to like the value of the targets. What was the question we had during the normal shows? Like Deontay Johnson versus somebody else, and
I didn't get to answer that one. And I was on the other side. I wouldn't.
I can't remember who the other player was.
Yeah, me either. Hold on. It was another wide receiver.
While you're looking that up, we can move.
Wow, his target share is super high. You're right.
Was it DJ Moore? Terry McLaurin?
I
don't remember.
Chris has a question for us, though. Says, I have Dawson Knox. Should I trade Darren Waller for a running back or wide receiver? So he has Darren Waller and Dawson Knox. Should I trade Waller for a good RB wide receiver? I would want to see the rest of your team, but my initial instinct is no. Waller is a difference maker at that position in a way that Knox isn't. I know he hasn't done what he did in week 1 since then, but there's going to be more Darren Waller weeks. He's an elite tight end.
24.8% target share in that offense. That's crazy.
Who? I'm keeping Darren Waller.
Darren Waller?
Yeah.
What about you guys? Are you guys trying to move Darren Waller?
No, not after some poor weeks. It's kind of a sell-low situation where Dawson Knox has looked good, but I don't think he's going to be trustworthy throughout the season. Darren Waller is a difference maker. But is it possible to trade him for a good running back or wide receiver? Sure. It's very team dependent, though. I'm not looking to make a trade for Darren Waller right now.
So if you guys were to try to trade him for a running back, what tier would you guys be looking at? Like what kind of player?
Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Yeah.
Oh, I would want way more than that.
Yeah. I would too. You're right.
Najee?
Yeah, I'd take Najee. For Darren.
I don't know if you're going to get it done, but Najee's like the tier I'm looking at. If you're going to trade Darren Waller away for a running back, and in that case, you might have to wait for a big week. You might have to wait for another 15 target kind of week to move Darren Waller. But
Darren Waller has 24.8% of the target share on his offense, which is the highest amongst all tight ends. Followed second by Travis Kelce, who has 24.1%. Dawson Knox is 13.2%. He also has a bunch of touchdowns. I would stick with Waller here. I would try and trade Dawson Knox if I was you.
And Jill, on cue, fantasy football stats guy coming in with the same thing. Try to sell Knox instead. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. You could probably move Knox for a back end RB or a wide receiver that you wanted to start to a tight end needy team. Brendan wants to know, you guys think I should play Emmanuel Sanders or Jacoby Myers this week? So I have to start one of Emmanuel Sanders or Jacoby Myers. JL, what do you think here?
Let me pull up their matchups real quick.
Emmanuel Sanders is playing Kansas City and Jacoby Myers is playing Houston.
It's Jacoby Myers for me. He's so super involved. It's definitely Jacoby Myers for me.
This is super close. I would lean Emmanuel Sanders. It's incredibly close. The matchup against Kansas City is really nice. Houston hasn't been too bad against wide receivers. I mean, we're still early on in the season, so take that for what it's worth. But they New England is heavy favorites, so I could see them. Jacoby sort of getting game scripted out. I would lean Emmanuel Sanders.
Ryan and I would go Jacoby as well. Josh, I would go Jacoby there. So 2 Jacobys, 1 Emmanuel, but they are close. Ryan wants to know, you guys value Deebo Samuel or Calvin Ridley higher? I'm guessing this is redraft.
Calvin Ridley's so much higher. Deebo's look great, but I would definitely trade Deebo Samuel for Calvin Ridley. My personal opinion. You guys let me know what you guys think.
I'm going Ridley as well. For the reasons Josh has said previously, I have faith in Ridley picking it up. So I'm going Ridley.
Wow. Do you guys want to take a guess who has
Deebo's more points? All right, I get it.
Who has a higher percentage of the target share in their offense?
Calvin Ridley.
It's not. It's Deebo Samuel.
No, it is Calvin Ridley. I just saw him. He was the number 1.
Not according to my data.
38%.
Maybe is that week 3? He's got 32.3. Oh, I'm sorry. That's Deebo Samuel's 32.3. Calvin Ridley has 26.8%.
Huh.
According to this source, fantasy data.
Interesting. And that's throughout the season, huh?
That's through weeks 4.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think Calvin Ridley has a higher value. I don't know which side I would want.
I'm taking Calvin Ridley. I know we've loved what we've seen from Deebo so far, but I still like Calvin Ridley more. Ryan has another question for us, or not a question, just letting us know. I traded Waller and Corey Davis for DJ Moore and Antonio Gibson a few weeks ago.
Don't hate it.
That's fine. The Waller for Gibson, that Gibson tier is kind of the tier of running backs we were looking at. And then Corey Davis to DJ Moore is an upgrade. So you got an upgrade at wide receiver and got a stud running back. I think that's a great example of what you can do with Darren Waller in a trade.
This is beautiful. And it was a few weeks ago, so it looks even better now.
So you got the Darren Waller big game and then traded it in for some DJ Moore big games. Jugras has another question for us. Woods plus Higgins plus Shenault or Ridley plus Mike Davis?
Woods plus Higgins plus Shenault or Ridley plus Mike Davis. Robert Woods, T. Higgins, and Shenault.
Oh, I think Josh froze on us. I was waiting for him to chime in because he loves the Ridley questions. I think I'm still going the Ridley side of this.
Yeah, I think I would too. Mike Davis, I don't love, but I would rather have the running back value.
A lot of Ridley questions today.
Tons of Ridley questions. Yeah. I think we put out some Ridley videos this week.
Yeah, might have to.
Josh, which side of this are you taking? The Ridley side or the Woods, Higgins, Shenault side?
It's the Ridley side.
I agree. All these Ridley questions, and the answer every time has been Ridley for the most part. But no, Jail's taken the other side a couple times. We got Jay in here saying hello. What's up, Jay? And wants to know what percentage of fab is D Williams worth.
Oh, I just did a video on Calvin Ridley yesterday. I'm just remembering that. I said, don't panic on Calvin Ridley, people. All right, so don't panic on him.
Percentage of fab D Williams is worth. Jail, what did you say for this one again?
We answered this 50% max.
Most.
Absolute max, yeah. I would go somewhere between 20 and 30 if I need
27% is
27% exactly. Yeah.
If you're 1 and 3, 0 and 4, and you need a running back, I'd be fine spending up to 55-60. Like that's the range. But if you're 3 and 1 and you kind of need a running back, that's probably closer to the 20 to 30 range. Your team matters whenever you're taking this into account. If you are 1 and 3, 0 and 4, this is the time where you use your fab to start buying wins. Like each week you need to start looking at how do I win this week instead of trying to plan for the rest of the season, especially if you're 0 and 4. So that's a situation where you may just need to buy a win with Damian Williams. Just pay up whatever it costs. But again, if you're 1 and 3, or if you're 3 and 1, 4 and 0, even 2 and 2, that advice changes drastically. Then you're looking at the 20 to 30 range, like these guys were talking about. In my mind, I don't know if you guys disagree.
I agree.
No, it matters so much more if you have a poor record. You got to manufacture wins any way you can.
Absolutely. And Jay came in and said RB needy team. So that we hit that part team? Of the question.
Is this? I think Simon just asked the same question earlier.
Yeah, I think he's talking about the
stupid team.
Yep. Brendan said, thanks for the advice. No problem, man. Anytime. Glad you came in. We love answering questions. Kyle has another one for us. 8-man PPR. We start 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers. Straight Aaron Jones and Woods for Kelsey and Lockett. He gives the rest of his team down there. John Luke, what do you think about this one?
Aaron Jones and Woods for Kelsey and Lockett.
Check out those running backs he's got.
Yeah, Henry, Mixon, Carson, Javonte, Gaskin.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Man,
yeah. I would make this trade.
In an 8-man.
Who are your tight ends?
I'm making this trade. In an 8-man league, especially.
Yeah,
we've said so many times, how much does that tight end differentiate you in an 8-man league? You know,
yep. It's going to give you an
Kelsey
edge.
Is the top one. Aaron Jones is so uber valuable still. But Kelsey and Aaron Jones, they're very similar in value in my mind, while Lockett surpasses Woods.
What if he has Mark Andrews? Are you still making this trade?
Yeah. Mark Andrews, yes, absolutely.
I'm still making the trade and then immediately trying to trade Mark Andrews. Someone, yeah.
Name another tight end that's actually a top end tight end this year.
TJ Hawkinson.
I'm just kidding. I'm just hating on Mark Andrews. He finally put together a decent game, but I'm not high on Mark Andrews the rest of the year. I would 100% make this. TJ Hawkinson, then maybe not. I'd be thinking a little bit differently about it.
Mark Andrews has been producing lately, and TJ Hawkinson's not so much. I'd rather have TJ Hawkinson than Mark Andrews the rest of the season.
And I'd rather have Kelsey than both of them.
100%.
Yes, I would.
So back it up, Kyle. If you can get Kelsey in an 8-man league, it sucks to give up Aaron Jones, but your running backs are good enough to go ahead and do it. Kelsey is a differentiator, and that's what you're looking for in 8-man leagues. Brendan Villacampa wants to know what you think about playing Dawson Knox over Mark Andrews.
Hell no.
No. I just poo-pooed on Mark Andrews.
Sure. It could pay off, but I'm not doing that. Not even considering it.
Jail is always says fantasy football is a game of probabilities. There is a percentage chance that Dawson Knox outperforms Mark Andrews this week, but it is not a percentage chance I'm like laying down a bet on. Mark Andrews is the safer option. He's the higher upside option. I'm going Mark Andrews. Jail.
Yeah, it's Mark Andrews for me.
5 catches the last 3 weeks for Mark Andrews. That's solid for a tight end. It's more than solid. And he's got a touchdown upside every single week.
Guys, one more question from Ryan. Wants to know if we think Cordero Patterson will take the RB1 position in the Atlanta Falcons offense over Mike Davis. What do you guys think from what we've seen so far?
No.
More or less the same, I would expect going forward, which has been great for Cordero.
I fully expect Cordero Patterson to start regressing back to the mean here and not being as efficient. He's just not getting as much work as Mike Davis. So Mike Davis is still the RB1 in this offense for me. Cordero Patterson's just outperforming what the opportunities that he's been given, which is great. I hope he continues to do that, but I'm not going to project it.
RB1 does not mean the better fantasy option, by the way, guys. I'm putting words in your mouth, maybe, JL.
I fully agree, Josh. Yes.
Yes.
Start Cordero Patterson over Mike Davis. Mike Davis will likely continue getting more carries than Cordero Patterson.
I agree.
And Cordero Patterson would likely start being more inefficient than he has been.
And so Wayne Gallman was involved this week for the first time, really.
6 carries.
That's concerning. That's concerning for Mike Davis.
I was going to say that's more concerning for Davis than Patterson. I feel like Patterson's role is safe in this offense. Do you guys remember the Mike Davis stat line from this weekend? We mentioned it on stream.
He had like 12 carries for 13 yards, right?
13 carries for
1 catch for a touchdown.
It was 13 carries for 14 yards rushing. And then 2 catches, 12 receptions, or 2 catches, 12 yards and a touchdown. But on the ground, 1.1 yards a carry on 13 carries. Expect Wayne Gallman to get more involved. I agree with that point. That was a great point. Okay, guys, I think that is it for Fantasy Office Hours today. Thank you, everyone, for coming in and bringing your questions. A reminder, we are live every day, Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, playing fantasy football games on the Fantasy Football Game Show. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, if you've got questions, you can find us right here at 4:15 Eastern Time, here to do nothing but answer your questions. And if you're not sick of us after all of that, we are live on Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the FanDuel YouTube and Twitch channels, playing some more games. And then Sunday night after the 4 p.m. games wrap up at 7 p.m., we are live on the FanDuel, Twitch, and YouTube, talking through that day's games from a fantasy perspective. So make sure to check us out there. And the easiest way to make sure you don't miss any of that is to hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. It'll all be right there for you. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Guys, I think that's it for us today. Anything else you wanted to say before we jumped off?
Trading makes fantasy fun.
Trading makes fun.
Okay, guys, we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.